All right, everybody, welcome to another Gambling Lag segment brought to you by Bogey Proof. It is U.S. Open week. You got myself, TJ, Brian, and Paul here ready to give you guys some. We're gonna go a little course knowledge for this segment, and we're gonna split up kind of the usual hour-long thing we get to you guys. Try and segment them out into courses for 15, 20 minutes, players, DFS, other bets, all that kind of stuff. Get you guys a little bit more focused product here for our listeners out there. So without further ado, I think it's time to talk about the U.S. Open venue, Torrey Pines, this week. What do you guys? What's your guys' initial thoughts? I mean, we see this one every year, right? For the farmers insurance?
Yeah, correct.
In
right?
January,
we see it every year in the West Coast swing, so it's not an unknown, right? We know what this course brings, and I think it's par 71 with the way they played, and it's going to be like 76, 7,700 yards based on the quick little research I've done, checking it out. But, there's a lot of history here, right? So I think I'll kick it off to you guys and see where you guys want to go with the course here.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, when you're looking at the weekend, right, you got to see where it is in terms of location. Right on the water. The weather this week's going to be great. I mean, 78 degrees on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Sunday's going to be 76. The only day that potentially is going to be like cloudy is Thursday, but mostly sunny, it says. So like you might get a couple clouds. It's going to be beautiful out there. I think the views are going to be awesome. It's one of those tournaments that's going to be picturesque, and depending on how it plays, I mean, back in January when it was held, you got some rain. It seems like it always rains in January, but it sounds like it's been relatively dry and it's getting firm. So, but yeah, it's going to be a challenge. U.S. Open, they're going to make this shit tough. It's going to be fun.
Yep. Absolutely. And I mean, to go back, I mean, they had a U.S. Open here back in 2008. Obviously, everybody remembers that one. Tiger Woods winning over Rocco Mediate in they used to do 18-hole playoff back then. I don't think that's the way they do it anymore. I think they changed that. I could be wrong, but in that place, by the end of the week, it was burnt out, greens firm as hell, rock hard, like struggling to spin wedges, like what we kind of expect out of U.S. Opens, right? You get that long, thick, rough, firm, fast greens, and just you got to be a magician around the greens just to just to not make bogeys every time you miss a green, right? That long, thick, rough. And we kind of saw that back at this year's Farmers when Patrick Reed won. I know we've talked a lot about his short game, but I think that just shows the type of course we have here. We're going to have it's a U.S. Open, 7,600 yards, thick, rough. It's like a Bombers type of course. You see guys like Tiger won this 5 times in a row back when he was at his peak, right? Like at this course, it's a big ballpark, and like TJ said, awesome weather this week, so they're going to be able to do what they want with the course from a conditions perspective, right? They're not going to have to dial it back because they got bad weather coming in, or lose some of the teeth of the golf course because it gets soaked. You see that a lot happen where it's like greenskeepers can't control that, but it affects the way the tournament plays out. It looks like they're going to have total control this week with the weather being relatively benign. I'm looking forward to just people that are going to drive the shit out of the ball, both distance-wise, but, you can't miss in this rough all week and think you're going to get away with it. It's a major championship venue. I'm just looking forward to seeing Torrey Pines in its fullest, conditions that they can give us this week.
Absolutely. TJ, good to bring up the weather. Honestly, I feel like we have to take 5 minutes out of every segment we do to talk about how horrible the weather is on a week-by-week basis this year. So good to hear we'll have some sun. I mean, all I could think about is Bryson's IG story from like 2 weeks ago when it was like downpouring at the Memorial or whatever that was. But yeah, I was looking at Torrey Pines, known for their POA, NUA, the greens. I was reading a stat earlier that was actually wild. It said PGA Tour players since 2015 have made 68% of putts from 4 to 8 feet, but on POA and NUA, that drops down to 66.5%. So, like, almost 2 full percentage points lower. And, while that seems like such a small deal, that stuff can really add up when you're talking, any sort of DFS or gambling, like over a whole week. That's a lot of players playing a lot of holes, so a 2 percentage point drop can really make a difference. I mean, we remember in 2008 when Tiger did beat Rocco, he finished at 1 under to win the tournament, I believe. It's going to be really, really hard out there. It's going to be good to see. And definitely excited to see some sun and see some bombs off the tees.
Yeah. It's pronounced Powana, I believe.
But, I was going to say, there's no way I was getting that right.
Powana?
Yeah, I think it's Powana. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't even know what I said at this point.
What happens is some of the blades of grass, they can grow a little longer and faster than others, and then you get those like little white heads on the blades of grass, and so the ball just starts bouncing later in the day. The longer the day goes on, the more grass can grow, and so those short putts, it's affected more, and it can be a headache in certain putts.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll even see like visually, it like looks like patchy or spotty, but it's because of like Paul's saying, like that as it grows, it kind of grows little like white heads or whatever on top, and it makes it borderline bumpy. I mean, if you've seen that Tiger putt on 18 to force the playoff as many times as I have,
wiggles.
See it bouncing along the whole way and like wiggling and stuff. That and the reason why they're missing short putts. A lot of guys when they hit short putts, they like to just kind of ram it, but when they make them as firm and fast as U.S. Open greens are, you're not ramming 4 feet because they'll be 10 feet coming back. It's not like it's not like you're playing your local muni where you hit it hard from 4 feet, you still have 2 or 3, maybe 4 feet at most coming back. So they have to kind of guess on those shorter putts if there's a little bit of break in them with the speed that these greens are going to be rolling at. So it's definitely something that is different about the West Coast, specifically Torrey, where that's not the norm, right? Most courses these guys play, they do not have to deal with bumpy greens, right? Like, so it's just a little extra that Torrey Pines and a U.S. Open kind of venue is going to bring to action this week, because U.S. Opens are kind of won and lost on your like bogey avoidance, right? And you're going to have to make a lot of 4 to 8 footers. Like that's usually that range where you either make a par to save momentum, take advantage of your good shots in to make a birdie, and just limit damage around a golf course that's going to be as challenging as Torrey's going to play this week. So it's that Poana grass, and I'm sure they'll be talking about it all week on Golf Channel and wherever else. But that is something that you got to. We talk about it a lot when we get really big tournaments, is looking at the way people putt on certain greens, right? Like I think Prez mentioned like the bent grass greens, and doing some research in that. This week is a huge all right, who plays well on Poa, because it's just about like not getting frustrated when you're dealing with shit like that, right? So you got to find guys, and that kind of bodes well for a U.S. Open type of winner too, right? Just being able to deal with controversy and just not getting like overly frustrated and having feed into the rest of your game when you get bad breaks, because you're going to happen. You're going to hit a 6-foot putt this week. It's going to hit that Poa. It's going to bounce the wrong way against the break you think it's going to, and you're going to lip out and you're going to make a bogey or make a double when we're thinking otherwise. And the players that are going to be able to like not let that feed into their whole round, those are guys that you want to look out for. And so those are guys who probably putt well on Poa, because they're not dealing with that shot after shot after shot after shot.
What's fascinating about Torrey? It's one of the very few golf courses where they combine different types of grasses. So like we talked about the greens, right? But the fairways, they have a couple of different grasses here. They have Kikuyu mixed in with a perennial rye. It's actually really interesting. They've overseeded it with a perennial rye. So a lot of the rough actually has that. Kikuyu is more in the fairways. So you'll be in the rough at times, and you're gonna see guys who could potentially be 5 yards from each other and have 2 totally different lies because of those different types of grasses. I saw it was weird. Torrey's one of the few, I should say, golf courses that do this. So with the U.S. Open, it's just gonna make it that much more difficult to get on the greens, and then when you get there, it sounds like it's gonna be a disaster, just a tough time in general. So this would be fun. Another test, different test.
Good test. And they also, another like weird Torrey thing, like when you watch, you'll see a lot of the hang gliders off the coast. It's pretty cool little views to see these people just like whipping around on the side of the ocean, and then have this like, and also it's in San Diego, right? So like San Diego, West Coast, California living, like that vibe. And these guys just going to absolute war on the golf course, like just battling this absolute behemoth of a course. That's like one of the better challenges that the PGA Tour sees, year in and year out. So Torrey Pines is about as good as you can get for U.S. Open. I know I'm probably a little biased with my guy Tiger and the success he's had there in his entire career. I think he won there 7 different times, one of them being the U.S. Open. So definitely biased to loving seeing golf at Torrey Pines, but I think it brings out good champions, and it's going to make these guys, it's going to frustrate them, but it's going to give them opportunities to play well too. It's going to be a fair test. I don't know.
Something to think about, especially if you compare the Farmers Insurance Tournament to This one we're about to have way different type of like season, right? That was January, very wet. They get a lot of rain at that time of year. They've had some weeks, months of just beautiful weather where there's not as much rain. So that plays a huge factor. It can play totally different. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be the same guys that did well in Farmers Insurance can still do well. But we'll see how that goes.
All right.
Alrighty. I think that I mean, unless you guys got something else, I think that wraps it for Torrey.
Yeah,
I think
right.
that's, it is what it is. We've seen it enough times. There's not too much unknown here, right? But it should be a good test and provide some interesting like leaderboard storylines and stuff like that as the week goes on.
Tee times make a difference too, for sure. I know Paul touched on it before, but morning and afternoon tee times, I got percentages here more too, like drops, just like Paulie said, when they grow more. So that will be something to look out for as well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, boys. Quick little course review. I like it. Cheers to U.S. Open week.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So